The Seahawks have the football. And Johnny is down.
It's the injury to the left leg of Leonard Weaver, and just a gruesome injury to that left knee.
When an unstoppable force meets an immovable object, the NFL field becomes a battleground where the pursuit of victory sometimes comes at a shocking cost.
Oh boy. And Minkah Fitzpatrick is down for the Steelers.
From bone-crunching tackles to miraculous recoveries, these moments redefine the limits of human resilience. While many players like Damar Hamlin make it back after making international headlines,
now another Bills player is down.
Everybody gathered around him and everybody praying that this young man is going to be okay.
some might face an unfortunate road like Bo Jackson when all is said and done. Join us today as we go through the most horrific injuries in NFL history. Injuries that would make international news and leave players and coaches fearing for what could come next. Number 10, Alex Smith, 2018.
And there goes Alex Smith down at the 40-yard line.
In a league where a quarterback's health can dictate a team's destiny, quarterback injuries are often the most devastating to watch for teams and fans. 2018 was the year when we saw this happen to Washington's quarterback Alex Smith, who was sacked by two Houston defenders.
His spinal fracture clearly said that his leg was torqued.
During the tackle, Smith's right leg would twist beneath him, leading to a compound fracture that broke both the tibia and fibula in his leg. This injury would later be compounded as he developed a flesh-eating bacterial infection in the aftermath.
There was grass or dirt or what have you in his wound. The wound didn't appear to be very large, but you never know.
According to doctors at the time, the idea to amputate his lower leg to save his life was on the cards. However, Smith would miraculously recover from the injury, making a spectacular return to the league just 20 months later.
Time that Alex Smith had gotten back into an 11-on-11 situation
Before retiring in 2021. But what happens when you get injured in the Super Bowl itself? Number 9, Tim Crry, 1989.
Worst injuries we ever saw in sports and occurred on the big stage.
The Super Bowl, the pinnacle of NFL competition, can also be the stage for the most shocking injuries. In 1989, Super Bowl 23 gave us a matchup that would feature the San Francisco 49ers coming face-to-face with the Cincinnati Bengals. On the 14th play of the game, Bengals defensive tackle Tim Crry suffered what would become a life-altering injury that left players and fans stunned. Crry would attempt to tackle on Roger Craig when his cleat wrongly planted into the turf, causing his leg to twist under his full weight. In the aftermath, the former Bengals defensive tackle would suffer 4 separate breaks in his lower leg, with his foot hanging only by his skin to be connected to the body. In what would have been career-ending, Crry would return to camp the following summer, not missing a single game in his ensuing 6-year career. While most players would not return from such an injury, the next player just suffered a gruesome injury that folks say could be career-threatening. Number 8, Nick Chubb, 2023.
Thing any Browns fan wants to see, Nick Chubb holding his left leg. Oh boy.
This season, a promising NFL contender faced a devastating blow when Browns running back Nick Chubb suffered a brutal injury on Monday Night Football. During a game against the Pittsburgh Steelers, Chubb would suffer an injury to his left knee while being tackled by Steelers safety Minkah Fitzpatrick. Testing in the week after revealed that Chubb had suffered a torn medial collateral ligament, MCL, and sustaining damage to his ACL as well. According to a report by Forbes, it seems like Chubb would undergo a full surgery.
Knee injured before and operated on before. There's obviously complexities and difficulties,
which could involve reconstructing the entire knee of the star running back. The next NFL player did not face a career-threatening injury, but did unexpectedly lose a body part during a game. Number 7, Rashad Johnson, 2013.
Rashad Johnson has allegedly lost part of his middle finger.
When we are at the brim of losing a limb, it is often excruciating pain that sets in on the body. But 2013 proved to be a mixture of surprise and frustration as Cardinal safety Rashad Johnson went to take off his glove. After the match, Johnson would find out that he had lost the tip of his middle finger when taking off his gloves after a punt return. In fact, no one knows how this happened, but according to Johnson, it must have dug into the turf at some point during the game.
And we didn't really know the gravity of the situation.
Johnson underwent surgery the same evening, shaving down the bone, which was sticking out of his finger at the time. Unfortunately for the next NFL player, their career ended before it even started. Number 6, Destri Wright, 2020. Many of you might not even know the name Destri Wright. Wright was an undrafted free agent that signed with the 2020 Pittsburgh Steelers. In a preseason game against the Dallas Cowboys, he suffered career-ending injuries. As the youngster's dream turned into reality, it would be snatched away in a few seconds as he would break not only his right leg, but dislocate his ankle so badly that his foot would point up directly to the sky as he was laying on his stomach. Fortunately, he would undergo numerous surgeries, finally being able to walk once again, but would never play another snap of football. The following player was so talented, but one serious injury forced him to retire twice. Number 5, Bo Jackson, 1991.
And Walker, as he made the tackle, had only the one leg to grab, and apparently Bo Jackson shaken up a bit.
Bo Jackson is no stranger to fame and media attention. The former two-sport star popped out of college with a bright future, but unfortunately, his football career would come to a screeching halt in January 1991. In a playoff game against the Bengals, Jackson was hit on the hip, causing a dislocation. Many thought this was just another tackle when he tried to pop his hip back in place. However, he would not only damage the blood vessels, but it caused him to lose all cartilage in the hip. Unfortunately, the star was forced to retire from the game before undergoing hip replacement surgery.
Jackson, whoa! Did he catch it? He did!
He would go on to play 2 more years of baseball before calling an end to his illustrious sports career and retire from the MLB as well. Number 4, Jeff Fuller, 1989. In another incident during the 1989 NFL season, 49ers safety and 3-time Super Bowl champion Jeff Fuller would face another devastating injury. After a helmet-to-helmet collision with a Patriots opponent, Fuller would fall on his knees, ragdolling backward with his head bouncing off the turf. When all was said and done, Fuller suffered a broken neck and partial paralysis. Initially, he was unable to walk after the injury, but would later recover enough to walk. Unfortunately, the former 49ers safety would never regain the use of one of his arms. But if you think this was bad, wait till you see the top 3. Number 3, Johnny Knox, 2011.
Johnny Knox caught it and lost it. And Johnny is down.
When we look at the brutality of hits on receivers in the modern era, it is easy to see why so many injuries occur. It can often be a simple football play that leads to the worst results. During a late-season game against the Seattle Seahawks, Bears wide receiver Johnny Knox caught a pass over the middle of the field. He would then lose the ball on a fumble, but as he dove to recover the ball, he would be entrenched in a mid-air collision with Seahawks defensive end Anthony Hargrave. During the collision, Knox would be bent almost all the way backward, with his back nearly making contact with his rear.
For coming in afterwards, he slams.
He would suffer multiple fractured vertebrae and suffer nerve damage. Knox would later go on to have spinal fusion surgery, which aided in recovery. Unfortunately, his career was over. Number 2, Damar Hamlin, 2023. Second on our list, we have an injury that would make international news for almost a month.
He became meaningless once Hamlin was on the ground.
It was a late-season game between the Buffalo Bills and Cincinnati Bengals, in which the 24-year-old Hamlin tackled Bengals receiver T. Higgins. Hamlin stood up after the tackle, only to collapse a few seconds later. Hamlin went into cardiac arrest and was administered CPR to revive his stopped heart on the football field. Hamlin would be rushed to the University of Cincinnati Medical Center, where he was kept under full observation for a week before being discharged. The game was postponed and the world waited in awe for the results of the Bills' safety and whether he would return to the game he loved.
Watching, and tonight doctors say the next 48 hours will be crucial for Buffalo Bills star Damar Hamlin.
Fortunately, Hamlin made a full recovery for the 2023 season, played in all 3 preseason games, and made his regular season debut against the Miami Dolphins on October 1st. We are at the number 1 spot, and only one injury can truly have the hair on the back of your neck stand up. Number 1, Joe Thyman, 1985.
First and 10, Riggins, flea flicker, back to Thyman. Thyman's in a lot of trouble.
Any injury can possibly end an athlete's career, but I'm confident that he'll do well.
In what is the most famous injury ever in the NFL, the Monday night game between the formerly named Washington Redskins and the New York Giants needs no introduction. In fact, it was during this game in 1985 that Washington quarterback Joe Theismann would be hit by legendary Giants linebacker Lawrence Taylor. As Washington ran the famous flea flicker, the Giants' defensive line was never fooled, and Taylor dragged down Theismann, falling on his leg at the same time. Theismann later said his leg snapped like a breadstick, but he felt nothing below his leg. However, He would suffer a compound fracture with part of his bone sticking through the skin. Joe Theismann would never play another snap of football, and the injury became an infamous part of the NFL. With a physically demanding sport like football, horrific injuries are bound to happen. While the NFL is trying to focus on player safety, shocking and career-ending injuries are difficult to avoid.